All right, welcome to another beautiful morning up north. I'm Pat Kreitlow here on Lake Wissota, which isn't as up north as, say, Greenland. But at least we know Lake Wissota, unlike Greenland, is and will continue to be part of the United States, not part of some presidential vanity project, distracting from the real need to take care of business here at home. Someone who does want to take care of business here at home, State Representative Francesca Hong, a candidate for governor, will join me live in just a couple of moments. After that, we'll have today's history lesson. We'll also have a new calendar of events that you can use to take your civic engagement to a higher level. We'll have some of the latest responses to our question of the week about what kind of voter you are in this very busy, very important election year. And we'll kick it all off with Fran Hong coming up next. All right, let's welcome Fran Hong. She's a candidate for governor, state representative from Madison. Her campaign began with a very simple message. A better Wisconsin is possible. We all have a role in building it. Any argument that we need to accept less is bullshit. Fran, it's great to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Oh, are we not on radio? Can we say bullshit?
Yeah, this is YouTube and Facebook.
Fantastic. It's great to see you, Pat.
Yeah. We get that comment from time to time. Is why does Fran talk the way that she does? Because we all do, maybe.
In these times, I think it's hard not to curse.
I completely see that. Hey, I wanted to talk to you because I saw a release from you in the campaign yesterday about data centers. It's been a pretty hot topic in Wisconsin these days. And in my mind, it's not necessarily a slam dunk issue. It's one thing to say we don't want a nuclear waste repository in our backyard, but data centers are something we're going to have to deal with for the foreseeable future. So we have to determine if there are best practices to guide their construction, or if the best practice is not to build them at all. You call your plan for data centers Control-Alt-Delete. And I like it because it not only gets into environmental concerns, but energy usage and even corporate tax breaks. So tell us a bit more about the Control-Alt-Delete program from Francesca Hong for data centers.
It's about controlling our alternative energy and deleting corporate subsidies. Not all AI data centers are created equally. We have some in this state, and then some in these states do not pay sales and use tax. And so we have to ensure that we have more data on data centers, which is why we called for a moratorium on the construction of new AI data centers until we have firm numbers on the water use, energy use, how it's going to raise rates for ratepayers, and then the corporate subsidies and long-term investments of high-quality jobs in our communities.
I have noticed that there are proposals about data centers now from both other Democratic legislators and now Republican legislators as well, talking about holding down energy costs, looking at the potential for environmental harm. Is this possibly one of the areas where you could see some bipartisanship among legislative Republicans as well as Democrats at some point in the future on this issue?
We are already seeing bipartisan opposition to the construction of AI data centers. Ron DeSantis and Bernie Sanders are coming together. I would say Governor DeSantis having implemented a AI Bill of Rights. There are a lot of questions in giving so much corporate control to big tech when we aren't seeing the long-term positive impacts, especially for our smaller communities. So really what we have presented is a response to the bipartisan coalition building, whether it's in Janesville, Caledonia, or Menominee, who are demanding that there's more transparency, accountability, and that they don't want these AI data centers in their communities.
Francesca Hong is with us, candidate for governor, state representative. Part of your Control-Alt-Delete plan for data centers includes transforming Wisconsin's energy infrastructure through public ownership. There goes the Democratic Socialist again. Talk to us about the importance of public ownership of our energy infrastructure.
We are seeing historic increases in electricity and water bills. And so in order to protect ratepayers, we have to move towards a system where there's more consistency and reliability on energy use. And so moving towards a publicly owned model, I think we're seeing that grow across the country. And this is what's actually going to protect ratepayers from corporations who are jacking up rates and not contributing meaningfully to the grid to make it so that we're preserving and protecting our energy. And I think it's more important that we're looking at community control over corporate subsidies for our energy and water use. And so the publicly owned utilities moving towards that is in response to the need to protect ratepayers.
Francesca Hong is with us, candidate for governor, state representative. Let's put your legislator hat on because it is a busy week in Madison with a lot of legislative actions, committee hearings, things like that, which is to be expected since the Assembly Speaker, Robin Vos, has again said that he thinks they may be done with business by mid-February, which would then lead to a 10-month taxpayer-paid vacation for legislators. You had one of our very first rather viral opinion columns a couple years back saying out loud what everybody else was thinking. Essentially, your message was, what the hell do you mean we're shutting down for the year? There are all kinds of other issues that we get paid to try to resolve. Do you still feel that way looking at the calendar?
Absolutely. They're going to jam as many bills down our throats through January and February and then say, oh, it's time to campaign. We'll see you next year. So that is a disservice to the public. And Wisconsinites right now are grappling with rising costs and affordability. And so we need to be looking at legislation that establishes permanent affordability. And instead, we're getting, petty bills because Republicans are mad at a veto that would increase our funding towards public schools. And so it's irresponsible, and Wisconsinites deserve better.
You also recently joined your colleagues in introducing a bill to increase the opportunity for paid family leave, something that's happening in Minnesota this year. There's also a Democratic affordable housing package. Again, these are the kinds of things that should not necessarily be bipartisan, but it certainly seems like those ideas are going to get a tough time seeing the light of day in the short window that Speaker Vos is offering you.
It's the Republican majority that are rejecting legislation that the people are demanding. No one should have to choose between paying rent and going to work sick. I think that paid leave for all is a way to strengthen our workforce and take care of families. And then we're looking at an affordable housing catastrophe that is only going to get worse if we don't make it easier and more affordable to build more housing in our state. And so this is the Republican majority rejecting what the voters are demanding, which is an abdication of responsibility because we are public servants. And to not listen to the public, that is deeply anti-democratic.
There are a couple of specific matters that, again, you would think could come up. For example, making sure that special education funding does meet the goal that was laid out in the state budget. It fell woefully short of it. Do you see any opportunity for that? And forgive me for mixing two issues into one question, but along with special education funding, the speaker is again sending mixed signals on extending postpartum Medicaid coverage for new moms. Do you think either one of those have the opportunity to actually see some passage in this spring session?
No, because Speaker Vos is being disingenuous and manipulating the public when he says there was some sort of historic investment in special education reimbursement. There was not. And with it being indexed to inflation, we're seeing school districts actually see less than 45%, some as low as 38, 39% reimbursement in special education. And so once again, we are not doing what communities need us to do. And when it comes to postpartum Medicaid expansion and extension, there is one person who is refusing to help mothers and babies in our state, and that is Speaker Vos. And so if he is hell-bent on not expanding quote unquote welfare and harming mothers and babies, it is completely on him, because we have over 70 co-sponsors of that legislation. And again, there is one man who is stopping that from passing.
Francesca Hong is a candidate for governor, and on her website, francescahong.com or Francesca Hong WI on most social channels, you can get a feel for what kinds of positions she would be for. If you go over to the policy page, I put these on a crawl for the bottom of the screen because there's so many things here that I think the clowns on Fox News would go absolutely crazy over. They'd be like, can you believe this platform? Free school meals, universal child care, rolling back voucher laws, paid family leave, expanded Badger Care coverage for Wisconsin families, boosting Medicaid reimbursement for rural health care providers, affordable small business loans, rein in corporate monopolies, support home health care workers, kill Act 10, protect bodily autonomy, legal marijuana, community-based crime prevention measures, gun safety improvements, protect immigrants from secret police, protect the environment, and more. I mean, Fran, you are drawing the Mom Donnie comparisons, and that cuts both ways. One is that Wisconsin is not New York City, but on the other hand, Mom Donnie got more votes than most of the recent mayoral races combined, and it was the city's highest voter turnout since 1969. So, Fran, which one are you? Are you a spark plug for voters who appreciate some straight talk, or is this a liberal wish list that's going to kill Democrats when Wisconsinites vote in November?
Let's be real about the current conditions of people's lives right now and what's happening at the federal government. And a response to authoritarianism has to be protecting our communities by putting working class people first. It is a rational policy to feed kids in school. It is the right thing for people to be able to have health care and not have to go to work sick and work multiple jobs. And whether I'm in Shawano or Rhinelander, Sheboygan or Beloit, Wisconsinites are demanding that their government do better. And I think that with rising costs and common struggles, it's important that we have universal policies that improve the material conditions of people's lives. And for Democrats, it's important that we actually deliver so that when people feel that things are getting better, they know who's in power. And maybe that's going to bring in consistent votes for us. And so expanding the electorate, building trust again for communities to know that they have elected officials who are making government a force of good, because that's what Wisconsinites deserve, a life of dignity and a high quality of life. And I think that's universal across the state. And so we're working on building a grassroots movement with independents, Republicans, lefties. They're coming to our events. They're curious about this wildcard candidate. And I think you're going to see more and more people come out to vote in the August 11th primary because they are wanting a candidate who is demanding more for them and saying it's bullshit when people tell us we can't have those things.
With the August primary, of course, with 7 Democrats in the race right now, the first forum will be held 2 weeks from today by our friends at Main Street Alliance and Main Street Action. That has to feel kind of good, knowing that after all these individual announcements and individual road trips, that people will finally be able to compare and contrast where you stand versus the other candidates.
I think a crowded primary is good for democracy and for folks to see and know our numbers, whether it's over 1,500 volunteers who have signed up for this campaign, many who have never been involved in a political campaign before, knowing that they have a candidate with 7 years of owning a restaurant and working in the service industry. I think working class people are going to resonate with someone who is demanding better for workers while also supporting small businesses. And this being a small business forum, I'm looking forward to bringing my experience working as a restaurant owner, as well as hearing what other small businesses are demanding. And it's that corporate control of goods and having to pay the same rates for what a mega corporation may be paying for a to-go box and seeing a higher rate for smaller businesses. Folks are going to see that we can support small businesses and worker rights, and we have to be innovative, comprehensive, and unafraid to govern with a bold vision.
You can find Francesca Hong on most of the socials at Francesca Hong WI and at francescahong.com. Fran, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it so much. Look forward to catching up more on the campaign. Safe travels in the meantime.
Thanks so much, Pat. Great to see you.
You as well. Have a wonderful day. All right, we'll pause here and we'll have today's history lesson and a little calendar of events for you to do something. Do the things that are going to help reverse course in this country in 2026. That's coming up next. All right, let's see. We've entered the danger zone of today's history lesson. This is it. You can meet me halfway if we're going to guess who's got a birthday today. Everybody can get foot loose. Yes, our spotlight birthday today is somebody who's truly heart to heart. All of these song titles and more come from Mr. Kenny Loggins, who turns 78 years old today. And if you go on our Facebook page to where I teased that Fran was going to be appearing today, I've put a couple of links to some Kenny Loggins tunes. I was looking for the cheesiest 70s and 80s videos I could find because we couldn't do those on the radio show. Now I can put a link to these YouTube videos and you can just, I still don't get why MTV is getting out of the all music channel business when you have, cinematic masterpieces like what you're going to see from Kenny Loggins there in the comment section. Let's see. Katie Couric turns 69 today. Actor Nicolas Cage is 62. Jeremy Renner is 55. Some number one songs. I put a link to the number one song 70 years ago today. January 7th, 1956, Dean Martin, and Memories Are Made of This. The number one song this day in 1973 was Carly Simon's You're So Vain. Going back 50 years ago this week, the Bay City Rollers topped the charts with SATURDAY Night. 40 years ago this week, Lionel Richie's Say You, Say Me was number one. 10 years ago this week, Adele was still atop the singles charts with Hello. On this day in 1782, the country's first commercial bank, the Bank of North America, opened for business. And after 244 years of mergers and acquisitions, part of it is still around today as part of Wells Fargo. We'll have our question of the week and wrap things up with a little calendar action coming up in just a moment here. I'm Pat Kreitlow. Thanks for tuning in. And again, this is a kind of a personal pet project for now until we talk a bit more about what we're going to be doing to expand things at Up North News for our digital coverage there. But don't forget to sign up for the newsletters that I do on Sunday mornings over at upnorthnewswi.com. All right, welcome to our first edition of Do Something. It's a 2026 calendar that can help with ideas to do something new to help bring America back from the realm of ridiculousness. So the first few items are starting to trickle in here, and let me bring that up on the screen for folks to see. Let's see, on January 16th, we've learned that Pete Buttigieg has rescheduled the town hall that he was going to hold in La Crosse. It was one that he had to reschedule from November due to a family illness. On Tuesday, January 20th, it will mark 1 year in office for Donald Trump's second term. Yeah, it's only been 1 year. But on January 20th, a lot of folks are going to see that as the right time to again take to the streets to show that a whole lot of Americans still aren't real cool with fascism and refuse to accept raids, purges, surveillance, and fear as America's new normal. The event is called the Free America Walkout, and it is slated to happen at 2 p.m. local time around the country on the 20th. More details to come. Also on January 20th, Main Street Action, a group representing small businesses and families, is planning a day of grassroots activity at the Capitol. More than 100 small business owners and allies from across the state are coming to talk to legislators about some of the issues we have discussed earlier: expanding postpartum Medicaid coverage for new moms, paid family and medical leave, child care funding, and small business financing, much more. Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski will be there as well, a candidate for lieutenant governor. On Wednesday, January 21st, Main Street Alliance is putting together what will be the first gubernatorial forum of the campaign. It'll be held in Milwaukee with the 7 leading Democratic candidates for governor. So there's your pop quiz. If I were to say right now, can you name the 7 Democratic candidates for governor and the 2 Republicans? Could you do it? I put it up on screen here for you to do that. But tell you what, let me add their names right there. You'll see former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, former DOA Secretary Joel Brennan from the Department of Administration in the first Governor Evers term, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, State Representative Francesca Hong, former Director of the Wisconsin Economic Development Commission, Missy Hughes, Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, Senator Kelda Roys, and our friend Dan Schaefer of the Recombobulation area will be the moderator. Again, that's for a Main Street Alliance gubernatorial forum to be held on January 21st. All right, let's take another look at the question of the week that we put up in our Sunday morning newsletter. And this week, the question is, what kind of a voter are you? And what kind of a voter are you going to be in 2026? And the options were, all-star voters, people who are only recently all-star voters because they now understand the importance of all the races, especially the August primaries this year. Then we've got folks who will admit that they've got some work to do. They vote in November, but they need to do a better job of voting in the August primaries and in the spring April election as well. And then finally, we were looking for anybody that would answer D, I'm not a regular voter. I still don't really think my vote makes a difference. I would be surprised to see something like that, given this is the kind of program that you've chosen to watch. But hey, we put it out there in the newsletter just the same. A couple of answers. Marlene says, I have to go with B, of a recent all-star voter, as we have always voted for the presidential candidate, but it wasn't until we started reading Up North News that we've been voting in every primary in Wisconsin. We are snowbirds and get the absentee ballots when we are out of the state, so it still works for us. Up North News has been great to remind us how important the primaries are. Thank you, Pat, for keeping us informed. Well, thank you, Marlene, for such nice sentiments there. From Connie, I'm an all-star voter and will be working at the polls each of the 4 elections this year. And if anyone thinks there's any hanky-panky going on at the polls, I suggest they sign up to be a poll worker. Absolutely. And finally, from Barbara, Pat, I'm emphatically A as an all-star voter. So are my kids and their spouses. They fear facing the disappointed wrath of their mother if they don't. So Barbara, thank you for that. And again, you can sign up for our newsletter over at upnorthnewswi.com/newsletter. And finally, something new to watch for over at Courier Newsroom, the parent company of Up North News. You can see a new 10-minute video from Mason from One Hand Politics, doing some very necessary fact-checking on what the Trump administration is saying about Venezuela. The bullshit meter is, again, getting quite a workout, and that's not good for the country because let's remember, too many American lives were lost in Iraq and elsewhere to excuse this kind of gunboat diplomacy that shoots first and then sticks us all with the financial and human costs later on. So if you'd like to watch that, head over to the Courier Newsroom YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/@CourierHQ to watch that and more. All right, well, I guess I should get a move on here as well. Time for me to get my day job started over at Up North News. Join me on Friday morning. I will be talking to Dr. Kristen Lyerly, as we often did on the radio on Friday mornings. We have a guest from Fair, Wisconsin. Abigail Swartz is joining us on Monday at 9 a.m. And I would love to have your suggestions for guests as well, either in the comments section or reach me by email as well. Again, we have plenty of radio show regulars that we want to bring on board here, but we would love to know what you think would be a good suggestion list of people to talk to. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe to the newsletter, share those Up North News social media posts, and make 2026 the year that you do something. Do something to bring our country back from the realm of ridiculousness. All right, I'm Pat Kreitlow. See you again here Friday morning for another beautiful morning here up north.